Welcome to Cutting Edge Web Content Development, the podcast where we delve into the world of CMS systems and their crucial role in website and web content development. In each episode, we'll explore the reasons why founders, CEOs, CTOs, and CMOs of web content development companies need CMS systems to thrive in the digital landscape. Get ready to uncover the secrets behind successful website management, content creation, and seamless user experiences. Here's your host, Jonathan Ames.
Welcome to Cutting Edge Web Content Development, a podcast by Butter CMS. Today we're joined by Phil Chavanne, a seasoned expert in SEO and digital marketing. Phil currently serves as Director and Head of SEO R&D Strategy at Eden Ads, where he spearheads the integration of innovative SEO and PPC strategies to maximize clients' return on advertising spend. Welcome, Phil.
Hey, thank you for having me, Jonathan.
Yeah, I was really impressed by the depth of your background. You've really experienced a lot of different things over the course of your career. Could you tell us a little bit about your experiences and the projects you've worked on?
So I'm old, man. I'm 60, so there's a career behind the man. I started as a linguist back in '86, and I studied internationally, and then I started a career as a technical translator. At the time, we're doing DBase and like, I don't know if you remember Ashton Tate DBase, but we're translating backend manuals and some hardware stuff. And then in '89, I created my own translation agency. So at that time, I had already built, a good amount of experience in content writing, because translation and content writing are pretty German. So I started my own translation agency, and pretty fast, we specialized in financial analysis, because it was much better paying than computer and stuff and software tool. So I specialized in financial analysis. I had a mentor on the brokerage, a brokerage firm in Paris, on the Paris stock market. And then, I worked as an editor for the Financial Times, the French publications of the Financial Times. I also had mentors. So mentoring is a big thing in my life. And I did that. So from 1989 to 2008, we built the agency. And we grew it to a sizable agency. At the time, we're number one in the financial translation business in France. I had moved to the US, so I always was on the move. And so I live in France, I live in Germany, in Denmark, and that increases the experience of how other people think, and what kind of things do they have in mind, how do they view social events and things like this, which is very important for content writing. It's just an accumulation of background experience. So I moved to the US in '96, and I continued building the agency, but at the same time I was kind of bored at the time, so I decided to exploit the knowledge gap in SEO and the internet between France and the US. So because of the nature of the French market, which was dominated by a single telco, which was state-owned telecom operator, people did not have PCs at home. So the internet at the time in France was, I'm talking about the 80s, the 90s, the internet in France was really a slow connection through a proprietary terminal, which was called the Minitel. And people were crazy about it, and they were using it, but they didn't have like regular internet connection, Whereas in the US, we already had a home consumer market, home PCs everywhere, and the web was readily available. With still slow connections, but we started to see DSL connection or ADSL connections and stuff like this. So broadband was getting around. And then something changed in France where the legislation changed, and suddenly the market opened. And at that time, I thought, and this was right around '98. And at that time, I thought, oh wow, the US manufacturers already have full access and use the internet for commercial purpose, like a business card at the time, more than a real interactive or e-commerce website. why not exploit that and help French exporters, French manufacturers who have the knowledge, who have technology, are very efficient in what they do, to also be, or to have an international presence. And so I basically started to work in SEO, and at the time was with Altavista and then other all search engines that have disappeared since. And we started to build that. I had my best friend in France who, was readily available to work with me. So I said, why don't we create an agency, an SEO agency, where, I do the R&D in the US, and you sell to customers in France, and we'll find how to deliver. So we did that, and we specialized in at the beginning, we were only manufacturers, and it was too slow. And then we found the niche, which was the hotel industry. So in 2000, so we created the agency in 1999. And in 2000, we started to work with the hotel industry, and it was immediate success. We had star salespeople at the time, which is very important, because I'm a technologist more than anything. I'm a content creator, and my partner was more like an operational manager, if you want. So we had star salesmen. We hired a star salesman who really helped us to approach the pitch and seal the market and stuff like this. So we built this SEO agency to about 600 clients, all in the hotel business, and we were dominating the markets with very avant-garde kind of SEO. Like SEO technology. And then in 2007, I sold, I withdrew from the company, searching for a different adventure, and I moved to China, and I started to develop a software company with a partner in the city of Xiamen, in the south of China, right in front of Taiwan. So we developed the CMS, which was kind of like a WordPress-like, but just like much better development. And it was fully SEO. So, when you were creating a page, you were automatically SEOing the page, with the right questions and stuff like that. So I did that for several years, and I built this software for Chinese exporters, and I had contracts with Chinese government to do that. And in 2011, 12, I moved back to the US, and I continued doing SEO and web design or that kind of thing. So on my own, basically, before I joined Edenad in 2020.
Yeah, it's amazing the depth, Phil, of your experience. I mean, you're talking back, in the 90s when the internet was in its infancy, and, moving into the 2000s, developing CMSs when CMSs were really in their infancy. So you've been at the, growth stage of several of these industries. And I was fascinated by, when we talked earlier, the subject that you wanted to go over, which is this idea of AI, which is very 2023, 2024, brand new stuff. And, given your ability to reach back in the past and see the infancy of so many of these digital industries, give us your take on AI, talk about this, how this affects people and maybe ways that they hadn't thought of AI.
It's a very complicated question, or it's a very broad question. So I'll speak of it from the viewpoint of website development, content development, and SEO, if that's okay with you. So for, we always see SEO as an evolving art. Some call it a science, and it's a little difficult to call it a science because Google changing the rules of repeatability of the experience is not the greatest thing. But part of it is a science or some mathematical model, and part of it is just experimentation and trying to get better. So over the years, SEO has changed, but it was always a slow change. The tools were slowly adapting to what Google was doing. So Google was always a step ahead, and the tools were catching up with, And then you had tools which were more specifically about creating a production process, which was faster to implement, easier to follow, and were sort of capable of producing content faster. But these tools were not optimum for multiple reasons, and And also they were causing issues in terms of the quality of content that we could see in the search. And so for us, this is an ethical question, which is always in the background of SEO managers who are responsible for what they produce. And then came AI, and then came ChatGPT. And, I started to use ChatGPT with 3.0. And I found it very clunky, but I thought, well, this is like interesting the way, they have mastered or started to master the syntax, which was really a problem with most of the content development tools, or tools that would help content development. We had like rewriters. They were very bad in general. They were content spinners. That's awful. So when the LLMs came out, and the first version of ChatGPT, or the first sort of well-known version of ChatGPT 3.0 came on the market, I was like, wow, that is promising. And then they came out with 3.5, and I really started to really use it. And then we had 4.0, which was an even better version. And, we had the plus version. And so we started to use that tools to enable deeper research, because really the use of AI today is in research, at least for us. It's not so much in writing, and I think we'll cover that in more details if you want, but it's more like, how do you approach a topic and how do you do your research? So to me, AI is, you cannot circumvent it today. Like whether you do SEO or content creation or whatever, it's going to be of use, Now, the way you use it will make a big difference in the output. And so, yeah.
No, you mentioned one of the challenges, that the syntax was clunky in the beginning, and that there's challenges to using it. Maybe, can you provide some examples of how, with clients, you've successfully navigated those kind of challenges and still been able to use it productively?
Yeah. So, you have to think about what people want to read. So user-centric content, and what Google wants to see in your content, and what the clients want to see. So very different perspective. So as an SEO guy or as a content developer, you have to integrate your approach so that, okay, what are the main guidelines that you follow? Who is it that you're writing for? Are you writing for ranking your client's website, which pays the bill? Are you writing for to bring something extra to the user, to bring extra value to the reader, the Google user? Or are you writing just because, you want to make your client happy, shining, And so the way I approach the problem is kind of an integration of these three components, because you cannot dissatisfy your client. So that means that when you're producing your content, you have to start with one. But at the same time, it's not just a self-satisfied, it's not like, wow, my client's glowing, my client's fantastic. No, it's like, what kind of value does this client provide to the reader? Why would the person spend like 5 minutes of their time on a page which doesn't teach them anything, or does not help them to make a better decision based on better information? So this determines the whole approach. And then you have two components to this approach. You have the EEAT model, Google's EEAT model, which I believe is the absolutely right approach to anything that you produce for the internet. I am not like signing up to Google saying that I think it's correct. I think the model, which was originally developed by Google to measure the quality of its search, with human editors and human content checkers, who were actually looking at the top results of the search through a very huge grid of criteria, and deciding whether or not the algos were already up to snuff, So the EEAT model was really forged in the crucible of content development, and Google was making this effort of, okay, how do we treat the algos to reject all the spammy content better than in the past, and to help deliver value to our users. And it's intimately connected to Google's model. And then you have AI today. So how do we use AI to bring extra data to the copy? Okay. So with those two components in mind, you're faced with how do we align all this? And so for us, what we are looking at in terms of EDAT is how do we get the client to give us content? Because the client knows their business. Most clients are experts what they're doing. And so you want to, dig into their brains and pull out what they know and put it in a communicatable format, and how do you bring it out? It's very difficult because clients usually don't participate in this process. But if you get the cooperation of the client, then it's a dream because then, you bring out the best and the most important information. You prioritize the information that you want to deliver. You segment the information in various ways so that, if the Google user is like looking for specific data, you're going to have this little piece of data somewhere in your copy accessible for the user pretty quickly, following the rules of how you lay out your copy. So that's part number one. And this is the foundation. To me, this is like the foundational block is how do we bring the expertise of the client into the hands of the Google user or the reader? And then how do we add a layer of research on that? And this is how we use ChatGPT, finding data that usually confirms what the client is saying, but also expands on it and maybe give users a little bit more background than the client, because so we use video. This is the tool which to me, video is very hard to fake. You can fake a picture. You can use Midjourney to create an AI picture, or illustration, which is going to be very convincing. You can inject EXIF data into this thing to, fake the location of the picture. Is it ethical or not? That's a debate in itself, but you can create a good quality illustrations, good quality photo-like images that will be used to illustrate the content. Video, we're not there. Yes, exactly. Sora, and we're looking at it, but so video really has 2 or 3 advantages. One, and I think that's really what drives our marketing effort today. Video brings the expertise of the client. So this is like the first E of the DDAT model. Brings the experience of the client, second E. So basically you're already fulfilling part of the model. Then it shows the client himself or herself, and so this is the trustworthiness part of the DDAT model, because video can be immediately sourced to a person. This is Joe Blow, he's the CEO of this company, or he's main partner, or he is whatever, that's his name on the front door. And that's his face, and he's speaking to you. So this is for us an authentication which is absolutely necessary and crucial for the reliability and the interest of Google search results in the future. So I think by bringing this type of approach to content development, we're showing the EEAT model. And we also guarantee Google users or readers, Bing users, that the information is proper. The information has a source. It is traceable to someone who owns the website or owns the company that owns the website. And so we guarantee this authenticity. And then if you ask a client, because every piece of content costs money. And this was a big barrier to entry before ChatGPT. And it was like, how much content can you generate at an affordable cost for a client to gain topical authority in the niche of the client, but at the same time to deliver this content in a way that is adequate and authentic and blah. So for us, the traceability of the video, the digging into business owner's mind, and bringing this content in a digestible format to the user fulfills this part of the deal. And ChatGPT is only a help on top of that, is only a layer on top of that. So that's how we shoe in the two approaches, like the EET approach and the depth of research, the depth of knowledge that we bring to people. And maybe, if I may, touch briefly on entities and knowledge graphs. So we know that today SEO is not keywords. It's keywords without being keywords, because the knowledge graph is an ontology or kind of a relational database that establishes syntactic relationships between words. Entities are key to developing content. So we do use a specific tool to find out the entities for any business, any type of content and stuff like this, which helps us upstream of AI determine, how do we approach a topic, how do we establish topical authority, how do we create a content planning based on knowledge graph, the Google Nut.
Now, Phil, there's you mentioned a couple of good things. I love the idea of one, using AI as a research tool to help gather information, especially information that might be siloed within a client and they're not giving to you. Second, the idea of video being a great way to then take that content and put it into an EEAT format that can then deliver on what we want for SEO. There's three challenges to AI that you and I had kind of briefly talked about before that I want you to maybe pick one of these three you'd like to talk about. But the first one is challenging AI to source where it got its information. The second one is implicit bias that's already built into the AI. And the third is that AI has a detectable syntax. So I don't know if you want to jump on one of those first and kind of talk about how you might address those three challenges.
Okay. So let's talk about the first one, which is the sourcing of the information. And yeah, I think that the SEO community and the content development community brings in it all ill will to Google. In the sense of, like, Google is very arbitrary in many ways, but at the same time, Google has learned to react to the gray hat, black hat practices of SEOs. And so the problem that we have today, I think, like one of the big challenge of the content development community at large, worldwide, is to bring reliable information to web pages or forums and things like that. There's so much output. The quality of output has incredibly increased since ChatGPT because it lowered the barrier to entry for content development. So the problem that we have is the content developers are not necessarily critical thinkers, and they have a watch in their hands. It's like, okay, I need to write 1,000 words today for this client, and I need to go fast because this costs money. So how do they develop this content? They may have like a basic outline. You can interrogate or prompt ChatGPT to give you a basic outline on any topic. You have various tools which tell you what is the structure of the pages, the top 10 pages for a given keyword or a given topic. And you can basically stop writing or start querying ChatGPT with that. So the first question is sourcing. AI, when you just prompt it without any depth, like general prompts, will not give you the sources of the information. There is an example, a counterexample of that would be Perplexity.ai, which is very good at immediately giving you like 5 sources. And then if you want more, But that's not ChatGPT, and so you have GPTs like or VoxScript or WebPilot or Scholar AI, which enable you to dig in further and, ask for more reliable sources or, verification of data. So in terms of sources, I think that if the content development community was really, let's say, ethical, in the way the content is developed, you would absolutely take every piece of statistical information that is communicated by ChatGPT and source it to someplace. And that's what we do. ChatGPT says, well, there was a 15% increase in this during that, period. Okay, where does that come from? So you have to prompt ChatGPT. You also, in order to get the depth of information and the depth of sources that you need to prompt and reprompt and reprompt, meaning you can't have general prompts. General prompts produce garbage copy. It looks like it holds together, because the syntax is correct, because the grammar is fine, and you give a tone, like answer in a professional manner, or give me the GQ way of saying that, for the but that's all language artifact, okay? It's not depth of content, it's not reliability of content, it's not sourcing the content. So the first decision that an SEO manager or a content developer has to have is when using AI is like, I need to find the source of this data. Okay. And that enables then the actor, the person who does the content development or the SEO management, that enables this person to look at the original data. Is it correct? And very often with ChatGPT, you find out that it's incorrect. That maybe the AI read the document and summarized and, pulled out a figure, but this figure does not necessarily relate. So you have to be able to prompt again saying, well, this is what the document says, and this is what you said. There's a discrepancy. How do you reconcile? You have a dialogue with AI. So that's the sourcing part. Yes. And so this is a critical thinking process. And this critical thinking process is always, okay, where do you get that information? How do you ensure or assure me that this information is indeed correct? And we find counterexample, because counterexamples can also integrate your copy. You say, well, the 10 rules to find a good roofing contractor. Okay. And so you're going to have like the 10 rules. If you just ask ChatGPT the 10 rules to find a good roofing contractor, it's going to go into the LLM, not even on the internet. It's going to go into the LLM and provides you with rehashed and it's going to make a list of 10 points, and each point may be valid, but it's very surface level information, and if you want to develop an article with that, you can, but that's going to be basically low quality, run of the mill article that, is not well sourced, does not contain anything special, anything interesting, anything reliable, like in the sense of like, okay, this shows expertise that is directly usable data and things like this. So this kind of prompting will result in shallow things. And unfortunately, this is a lot of the content we see on the web. And so critical thinking is, okay, this information here, how do I evaluate that it's correct? And can I have the counter argument? Can I challenge the assumption which is being? And so that's the second part of your question, original question. Like, to what degree do we deal with an hallucination? Or with a very borderline statement. So you're talking about bias, okay? So we know that you got, yes.
Please explain that quickly. Just what is it by?
Okay, so it's known, it's the well-known data that, and there are examples of that. It's a well-known fact that the guys who created the LLMs, the large language models, have a political or social engineering view. They have an agenda. They have, their obedience to this or, their worldview. Okay, we can call it world. And I'm not judging, it's like people have different opinions on what's good, what's bad, what's okay, what's not okay. But it may not be the truth, so to speak. It may be just a vision of the truth or colored truth, So you can't really enter into this as an SEO or a content developer or as an SEO guy. You have to present various versions of something. So the implicit bias, like a very common occurrence in ChatGPT is unsourced assumptions that this or that creates more, increases the carbon footprint of something, and that's a direct example. Or it helps reduce your carbon footprint. So first, the data is unevaluated. How? How does it help? ChatGPT does not volunteer the information, the exact scientific information, why it does help to reduce your carbon footprint. It makes a general probabilistic assumption that it does, based on whatever the content of the LLM is. So it's not a true data. It's in itself, on the face of it, is just an assertion without any backing, Second, does it, we're talking about climate change and the anthropogenic factor or the anthropogenic origin of climate change. But this is not a proven fact. There are many scientists who disagree with that. And as an SEO guy, we can't just relay, to users the perspective of, some sort of a consensual agreement on the 97% of scientists, blah, blah, which is debunked. But you can't just relay this wrong. You have to evaluate this and you have to present a counter perspective to that so that you don't spread the misinformation or the malinformation or the information that is unverified, and things like that.
Or even just from the perspective of going and making sure that there's counter information allows the reader then to make a evaluation and critically think themselves. So as an SEO, yeah, I know I see that when I'm looking at articles online. I look to see, do they present both sides of an argument? If they present both sides, I feel that it's more journalistic as opposed to marketing. And most readers would like to read something more journalistic than marketing.
Yeah, I mean, if journalism was, there could be a debate on are journalists activists or journalists?
Journalism in its pure form as it should be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's say a Socratic approach to something, or the way to critically think about something, like you present a viewpoint, but do you have a counter opinion? Do you have a counter viewpoint to that? And is it possible to present this counter viewpoint? So in very highly technical topics or subjects, it doesn't matter, like how to plug your LED light strips, if you want to create ambience in the room. It doesn't matter. There's no a prioris, there is no approximate answers to that. You have to have this, you have to calculate your load, you have to, connect the LED strips in a certain way. So this is indisputable. So for this kind of content, this is not necessary. However, for instance, you're talking about HVAC and you say, your client is a distributor of Trane and you want to satisfy your client, so you want to highlight Trane, but Trane, has great AC units. There's no problem with Trane, but it's not necessarily in the budget of everyone. The Trane is more like top of the line, so can you also bring in something else into this with the agreement of your clients, because if your client has, is like a Trane distributor, they don't want to see Daikin in the middle of the copy, So you have to make concessions, like, so you have to see as an SEO person, you can say, hey, okay, here's the spec list of Trane. Are there other units which have similar specs, and maybe a little better than that? And then how do you mitigate, the information? So this is highly technical content, but not really journalistic and opinion-based content. But there's still some critical thinking that can apply to the approach. Now, in more in fields that are more open to societal debate. Okay, so for instance, one of our clients at Indian Ads is a surrogacy agency. Surrogacy is a practice which is, extremely well controlled and has, like there's a framework now, who can benefit from it, what conditions, how is it done, how is it medically framed, and things like this. So there is a framework to work with. But for some people, surrogacy has a lot of ethical issues, and and who could benefit. Also, there are some ethical or societal issues, same-sex couples, single parents, so when you write about surrogacy, you can't just assume that everybody is okay with the practice, and you can't assume that that's conversely, you can't assume that it should be reserved for certain people only. And so you have to look at it from different perspective. If you just interrogate the model, the LLMs, to see something about, the best practices in surrogacy or how to pick the right agency and stuff like this, the LLMs, if you prompt them generally, are just going to give you a run-of-the-mill opinion that surrogacy is great. It's like fantastic for all parents of all walks of life, who want to have a kid. And in general, I personally would agree with that. However, if I am writing about it, I can also present a different perspective. It has some ethical questions related to that. And maybe you ask yourself, like I'm talking to the reader, maybe you ask yourself about, what does your religion think about? Or what does your spiritual practice think about that? So basically you dig further into the surface level information that the LLM is going to serve you first, and then you deepen your research, and that will often branch out to other papers, other articles, other types of content, and so you broaden, you widen the topical authority of the site by touching on these various points.
Phil, you brought up some really good insights here. I think being able to look at AI not simply as a neutral tool that can be used without any thought, but understanding that there is inherent bias, taking that into account, and like you said, doing some critical thinking along with the research that the prompts bring to you, making sure you're sourcing those things, all really important insights as the content marketing industry is starting to use AI more and more. Really appreciate those. Let me switch gears and ask you, over the course of your career, you've done a lot of things. You've learned a lot, I'm sure. If you could somehow go back in a time machine, meet yourself when you're right out of college, what advice would you give to yourself? What have you learned that you could share with yourself then?
I think the most critical advice, and that has been, I kind of learned the lesson in hard ways, is how do you approach your job? How willing are you to really dig deeper and produce something of value for whoever it is designed for? So, okay, I learned to manage companies. I learned, what's value for clients, what's the value proposition of developing a value proposition for end client and for company itself. I learned about how you bring this value proposition in your personnel lives, like how you treat them. So basically, it's all about value. What is the value that you deliver to your client, and how willing are you to go to the extra mile to deliver this value? I think that if you approach from this fundamental viewpoint, then you build on that. Then you build processes, you develop processes to increase the value, and you will make errors, and you will be chastised for your errors. You'll be fired for your errors, but if you still, put your foot forward, and just like one step at a time, always with the objective in mind, the purpose in mind of bringing value to whoever is to be benefiting from this value, then you will wind up with more value at the end. Is this, it's an ongoing process. It's not like a once and for all, it's just, okay, well, I need to revise this, or I need to bring it more, I think the fundamental approach is like, what is the value that you bring? How do you change or improve other people's lives if they make the sacrifice of reading something that you publish, or the sacrifice of using their hard-earned dollars, to use a trope, to give you this money so that you help their business, how do you really help their business, And then, from there, you have the question of like, are you looking in the short term or are you looking at the long term? Ethics is based on long-term views. It's based on an assessment of long-term effect. So in the short term, some cutting corners can get you more or less where you want. However, in the long term, they will backfire, either because you will be confronted with the problem, or you will be falling short of expectations because you didn't plan enough.
Very great advice. It's almost like EAT for your own career, just looking at the quality of the work you're doing and the value it's providing for people.
Trustworthiness, expertise, experience, and building on that. I think that, we all develop bad habits, and feeding these bad habits just develop more bad habits. But on the contrary, feeding, making rules, and abiding by these rules, your approach of developing content is this, 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to have it 1, 2, 3, 4, before I deliver my piece. Then you are building this habit and you integrate this habit. It's like, one time I was doing the vacuum cleaner in my home, and my wife was looking at how I was doing it, and she was saying, "Well, you're shirking your thing. You're pushing the dirt under the rug, basically." It was a slap in the face, It's like, oh my God, I don't like being told this, But that made a rule in my mind. I don't want to disappoint my wife when I do the vacuum cleaner, So I'll make a point in doing the vacuum cleaner correctly so that, the house feels good. She feels good when she comes home. And it's just generally better for health. So I think you do that in every aspect of your job, and as a content developer, you need to think, what do I bring to this client? What value do I bring to them? Long term, how will they outshine the competition on the web? How will they build on their traffic? How many inquiries can you get? And, how can you improve the number of inquiries that you get from the content? So that's like the value proposition for the client. Now you have the Google user. Is my piece readable? Is this like double the good, just formulating and things that you could read any place, anywhere on Google, follows a recipe, doesn't bring anything new to the debate, does not enlighten the reader, waste their time, So you go beyond that, and what piece of knowledge can you bring? What nugget of wisdom or practical advice can you give this client that, well, maybe they haven't found anywhere else, because nobody has been talking about that, or very few people have been talking about it, can you bring? So you have this, you have Google, because Google is your main actor. It's your main friend, although it's not really friendly, but it's your main partner, So how do you enrich the knowledge graph of Google? Instead of keyword stuffing and writing pages, introduction, a stupid example, the 10 best air conditioners, and then you have 5 paragraphs. What is an air conditioner? How does air conditioning work? Just to serve, quote unquote, the right number of words, the right keyword density to Google, no, get rid of that. Completely get rid of it, and just like go into your topic so that the reader immediately finds the data of interest, and Google will reward you on the back end. And yes, they have their shortcomings, and some really stupid content makes its way to page 1, or position 1. But think of Google as a partner. How do you abound, into how do you contribute to their needs and model, So if you take this, the client, the reader, Google user, and Google itself, you will bring a good value proposition to the business. And it may take time to see the results in terms of, traffic going up. And there are some formulas and some recipes that you can use to make your content more friendly, schemas and things like this. Having a table of content, jump links, things that make navigation easier, which is value anyways to the Google reader. But, when you bring that to Google over time, it will benefit everybody. It's just, it may take time.
Yeah, no, great advice. Thank you so much, Phil, for that. I just wanted to give everybody a way to connect with you. I know if people want to find you online, you work with Eden Ads. Tell us just briefly about what Eden Ads does and where people can find you and who would be a good match for working with.
Okay, so Eden Ads is a digital marketing agency, and the founder of Eden Ads, Ames, is a freaking genius at PPC. You know, I know very little in terms of PPC. That was never really my forte. But I love PPC because it's a test bench for SEO. And I'm integrating PPC and SEO is a very valid approach to conversions. You know, so it's like marketing and sales. You know, like a corporate. I don't remember who said that, but I don't remember if it was like a software company who said that or if it was an automaker. And let's say the guy who was talking was saying that if in a corporation, marketing and sales are on two different floors, you have a major problem, you know? So you need to blend the two, and sales is really PPC, that put out the ad, gets the answer immediately. It's like direct couponing, like great copywriters of the past, John Caples and, guys like this, they were into direct response, and PPC is direct response in the digital age. So you use that for your SEO, because obviously, the client spends money to get conversions, And by the way, which is, like really the thinking of SEO, and I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit here, but I do not take SEO as the final purpose of SEO as ranking my client number one of their search key. No, my job is to ensure enough visibility to my client that a good number of people land on the page and make a decision as to whether or not they can, inquire. So the value that I bring clients, not a position number 1, 2, or 3, or in the local results, or no, it's how many convert from there. Because you can get a number 1 position and no convert. So SEO is conversions even before it is ranked. It's like it has to be in the back of your mind every time. How much do I convert? How's my traffic staying on my page, or making the decision instantly. We have a client in Tucson, Arizona, in the HVAC industry. Their main concern is, can they, like the first time a client lands on their Google Business Profile or on their website, do they make an immediate decision to call? And it's very fast. You have the main topics in air conditioning, and the main routine for air conditioning companies is maintenance, repair, replacement. Okay. So, the typical approach is a client, end user, consumer, their AC breaks down. Okay. And in 20 minutes, they're going to be dead because of their heat saturation. So they quickly go to their cell phone. This is the way they interact. Quickly go to their cell phone and they type in AC repair. Okay. Or AC repair emergency. You pop up. Okay. So they click on your profile because you're number 1, 2, 3, okay, on mobile. They land on your page. Is this what they want to see right there? Or are they, this guy is like overwhelming me with information that is totally irrelevant to my problem right now. Up, get back to the results. Number 2, do you use the time, the opportunity that you just created by, ranking number 1 under this search term to convert, or do you waste this opportunity and give it to your competitor, or your clients? So, PPC is great for that because you can tell, if a landing page convert, then you use the recipe of the landing page to create your own SEO landing page. So Adam, the founder of Eden Ads, is really, really well versed in PPC, and I plugged in the company in 2020. And I started to do R&D for, in the SEO department and bring that particular expertise to the company.
So any size companies could work with Eden Ads, and where do we find you online?
So you go to edenads.com, edenads.com. We work mainly currently with dentists, trade, And our clients are not big corporations. Our clients are small to medium-sized businesses. You have to have a marketing budget because producing videos for your business, it's going to be somewhat of an expense. It's probably the best way to create content, in my opinion, but it's going to be somewhat expensive. Testing a landing page for to improve your PPC, your ROAS, or your return on advertising dollars, if you will. It's going to cost money. We're going to make N version of this landing page and iterations of this landing page to make it convert better. So it's going to take money. It's going to take time. If you don't have a budget, if you're, like under the gun and you only have $5,000 and you're going to die next month if you don't make payroll, then we're not for you. That's literally, we're not. So if you have a marketing budget, if you're big enough that you can, grow with a view to 6 months to a year, that's what we do. As PPC can get results faster, okay? You don't need 3 months to have some results, but you will need a month, to start figuring things out, so you will invest during that period. And then, the second month, you will see the increase, but that will work through the steps of iterating new landing pages, turning off some keywords that don't work and things like this, because we are in the dentist vertical, we know them pretty well. We know what works and stuff like this. We have the campaigns ready. We also have a long experience in the trade, so we also know, well, that doesn't work. We spent a lot of money in there and it was in vain. But that works like gangbusters. So apply this recipe. So you need to have a marketing budget, and like for instance, if you're a home-based service, like your home delivery, electricians, painter, roofers, or HVAC, air conditioner or air conditioning companies, this kind of services, our favorite clients are people with a fleet. There are a number of reasons for that, but that's the type of client that we like more than the 2 trucks and the truck comp. And no disrespect to 2 trucks and a truck, because we all stuck here with 2 trucks and a truck, But for our type of SEO and our type of PPC, we work better with people who have like a fleet, out with technicians out in the fields. And even if they have one location, but as they need to have technicians in it.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your experience. Really valuable stuff.
Cutting Edge Web Content Development is brought to you by Butter CMS. To find out how you can build better with Butter, stop wasting dev time, and free your marketers from your legacy CMS, visit buttercms.com. Also, make sure to search for Cutting Edge Web Content Development in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Butter CMS, thank you for listening.